Hey guys, what's up? My name is Eric and I'm the Techy Agent, and today we're looking at the Polar Ignite. I get a lot of requests to review all kinds of different fitness trackers, and the Polar Ignite is one of the most requested fitness trackers I've ever had on this channel. In part because it has a compelling price tag of about $210, but I also think it's because you're getting a watch that has a color touchscreen that offers onboard heart rate tracking and has built-in GPS. So you're getting a lot for a pretty reasonable price point. However, rather than just accepting what Polar has on paper, we actually want to take this into the gym on the pavement and actually test this out and review it to make sure that all of the metrics and sensors that they're offering are collecting and offering up accurate and good data. Before we get to that, let's talk about build quality and fit and finish. It is a mostly plastic design that weighs only 36 grams, so it comes in very light. Now, on one hand, that's great because it means that the watch is going to feel very comfortable and light on the wrist, but that also means that they had to go with very lightweight and kind of cheap feeling materials. The bands are very thin. They almost feel kind of like glorified rubber bands. And then the body itself is definitely made out of a thinner, more brittle feeling plastic. It does not feel like a quality device. But to be fair to the Polar Ignite, most comparable fitness trackers at this price point are mostly plastic and made up of cheaper materials in comparison to more expensive devices that range from $400 on up. The touchscreen is bright and clear, and the user interface is very intuitive. However, I will say that the touch sensitivity on this was definitely not up to par. I was definitely experiencing some oversensitivity sometimes, some undersensitivity sometimes. It was kind of frustrating to use it because you might swipe and it would go too far, or swipe and it kind of jittered or didn't go far enough. You would sometimes click on a button and you'd have to click on it several times before it would work. It was kind of a frustrating touch experience, if I'm honest. Additionally, the touchscreen, while it is a beautiful color display, does have the flat tire effect going on. That might not be a deal breaker for most, but it's definitely something that makes this seem like it's a fitness tracker from maybe a couple years ago as opposed to something in 2019. Just about every interaction with the watch is going to be through the touchscreen. It does have what is kind of a home button on the lower left-hand side of the watch. If you press this button while you're in any menus, it will take you back to the main watch face and time display. You can also push the button to enter into the different training modes or main menus, and then you can also use this button to start and stop or pause workouts. On the back, you'll find the optical heart rate sensor that is activated only when it senses that there's touch. After so long of not being on your wrist, it will automatically turn off, but when it is on your wrist, it is taking readings 24/7. So not just while you're working out, and not periodic readings, but literally readings all day long, which is nice. We'll get more into the accuracy of the optical heart rate sensor and the built-in GPS and all of that here in a moment, but I don't actually hate the build quality and look of this watch. It is what it is. It's a sports fitness tracker, and that's the look they're definitely going for. So the first thing I did was take this with me into the gym to put this through a wide variety of strength training exercises, along with some boot camp CrossFit style exercises to see how the optical heart rate sensor and calorie tracking did in a gym setting. Now, most optical heart rate sensors don't do well in a gym setting. They're not really calibrated or designed for these styles of exercise, and that was definitely true, unfortunately, of the Polar Ignite. The optical heart rate sensor just wasn't able to come anywhere close to what is kind of my personal industry standard, the Apple Watch, which does a fantastic job on the wrist. You'll see here, the Apple Watch was getting 152 beats per minute right after doing a set of the bench press, and the Polar Ignite was coming in at about 108, 109. We're still getting a solid reading from the Apple Watch at 154 beats per minute. Back to the Polar Ignite, it's increased a little bit at about 117, 118 and climbing, but it never really got higher than about 123 beats per minute for, these kinds of exercises. And those results, or I guess I should say the lack of those results, was pretty much across the board no matter what kind of gym-based exercise I did. That included box jumps, burpees, jump rope, doing other strength training-based exercises. Really none of them yielded very good results or very accurate results in terms of heart rate data. In fact, I would consistently see a heart rate graph in the Polar app that would look something like this. This was one of the best ones that I had, and you'll see that it had 4 dropouts, and some of those dropouts were actually dropouts that looked like they lasted maybe a minute or two. One of the other things that I found was that the Polar algorithm was very generous in terms of what it was saying I burned in terms of calories for a workout. So I was getting 300 calories for a 30-minute workout. That's very generous considering that it was saying that my average heart rate was only 122 beats per minute, which obviously it wasn't, but it just wasn't accurate for calorie counting or heart rate data. And in fact, I also found that the calories it was giving me credit for on a daily basis, like as a daily activity, were way too generous. There was a day where I only did 5,000 steps and did absolutely no exercise, and it gave me 3,629 calories burned for the day. That data is not accurate at all. So in terms of all-day calorie tracking, I can't recommend this. And in terms of tracking your gym-based exercise, both your heart rate data and your calories, again, I cannot recommend this device. The algorithms are way off. I don't know what Polar is doing there, but it's nowhere close to reality. And if you go by their calorie counting, you're going to put on weight because it's going to be saying that you burned more than you actually have. So even though this was not great for gym-based use or really for all-day activity tracking either, we wanted to give this a fair shake as a GPS watch. So Don is our resident cardio guy, and he took this out for many different runs, put several miles of use on this watch to see how it performed as a GPS fitness tracker.
I compared it against Garmin Vivoactive 3 Music. The GPS is mostly accurate. It still was off a bit, and I couldn't get consistent readings. It didn't have, even the GPS was not redeeming for it. Even the cadence on it, I was getting like 99 on average, which my range is like 170 to 190. Depending on what kind of run. So I don't know why it was even shortchanging cadence. The heart rate was actually right in line, and for steady state cardio I had no issues. I did not have any dropouts, so it did really well. It kept this about the same as a Garmin and no dropouts.
Okay.
When you could see it, yeah, it uses gesture, so it's kind of that raise to see. It would make the display come on. It helps save battery life by keeping it dark when it's not. It never worked. I'd be running at a race to try and see where I was at, and it would not show up. You couldn't see it, so you had the black screen. It's not even that when the screen lit up, you could see it. It's probably like a very nice display if you had it always on. But the gestures never worked, and to get it to turn on, to even tap it, I'd have to tap it 2 or 3 times to kind of wake it up. It wasn't very responsive.
This was my experience as well. The raise to wake feature would work intermittently, and when it did work, there would still be a 1 to 2 second delay before the screen would turn on. And nobody wants to be running or working out and flapping their arm through the air trying to get the screen to activate. So it was a very frustrating gesture to turn on the screen.
I did one run. I would have to check the numbers for you, but I mean, there was at least a 200 calorie difference. It was like a 7 or 8 mile run where I typically do 500 or 600 calories, and this was saying I had like 7 or 8. It may have been 800 or 900 calories. It was way off. You couldn't trust it for that. I couldn't trust it for that. Here's the one, and I was saying this has me on a run at a cadence. I was averaging a 854 per minute mile. It said my cadence was 85. So I was either running gazelle length steps or something, because if I look at the same one on my Garmin, I guarantee you it's probably in that 170s or 180s cadence. Yeah. I mean, I'm not the greatest runner, but man, I am not like plodding. Yeah, plodding along there. So. Wow. And it said in 4.17 miles, I did 642 calories, And if the average runner does 100 calories a mile, I was beasting. I mean, unless it was like overly humid or I was like carrying a weight vest, there's no way I was burning that many calories. So the app for it, it does dump out to Strava. It does dump out to Nike Plus. Yeah, and it does it automatically. So you don't have to do it. You don't have to trigger it. But once it would sync with the watch, it would send that data automatically to those other platforms. The watch by default buzzes at kilometers. And so if you're running in Imperial, the watch is buzzing like every 0.62 miles, which is kind of annoying in one regard. And in the other, you're not really keeping track of miles at that point. You're like, okay, there's another kilometer. You don't get it by feel. You have to look at the watch, and looking at the watch, we already discussed this hard. I could not find anywhere in the app to change that. There's no place to change those settings. So even though you changed
your metrics to miles,
yeah,
it's still buzzing you while you run at kilometer markers.
Yes, and there's nowhere in the app to change. I expected the app to change it. There's nowhere on the watch to change it either. The app itself looks like it's Windows XP is the best way I could look at it. The data is not pretty. It's not easy to find. It's not easy to sort. And so if you do have a Polar watch, you do want to export it to Strava or something else, because otherwise you're not going to get the data you want. So no music controls on the watch that I could find in any way, shape, or form. There's no way to control music from a phone. Obviously there's no music storage. So it doesn't even have what the most basic of Fitbits and Garmins have. It's lazy. It doesn't have that ability.
So as you can probably tell, we were pretty disappointed in just about every regard on this watch. It's not one that we can really recommend to you guys. And that's hard for us to do because there is a purchase link in the description below if you would like to buy this, and we certainly, appreciate that. However, it's not one that we can actually recommend, so check the list under that, and there are some other fitness wearables that we do recommend. And at this price point, we would definitely recommend something like the Garmin Vivoactive 3. But hey guys, thanks for watching. My name is Eric, and I'm the Techy Agent. We'll catch you next time.